Welcome to our lovely future humans, our 5D collective. To those who are new, I'm going to start with a question that will lead us to our topic and some stories. Are you able to spot your own validation loops? And are you able to spot your own inner emotional stuff? So, affective realism, I've been spelling it wrong. Are you able to be aware that how you see life is how you feel life? Okay, so if you are having fun in life, your 3-year-old, like mine, doesn't actually get stubborn to the point of denying that you're human. And that's important if you're mystic and spiritual, because the 5D mystic community, well, I used the word because when I came across it, it talked about Christ consciousness, and I am letting anyone who doesn't know me, you don't know, I was raised with Jesus. So in honor of Jesus, and more than just that, I do love my good Christian Catholic catechists. I love my channeling and downloading, and I love my relationship with God. And unlike spiritual bypassers who have a God complex and a lot more, I'm bringing to the human elements, to the spiritual and spirituality elements. And I don't believe in science. I know that science builds data, which is why I know epistemic discipline and curiosity, which is why my biases, if they do come up, they're not right or wrong, they come up. My feelings, when they come up and I am aware of them, they come up. So that's why, as I asked, question mark, do you have the capacity to notice your validation loops? Do you have the capacity to notice when your charges come up? Do you have the capacity to play with life as you see what's going on, like I do, and know, we've been talking about this, fear-based leaders always fail, always. This is a word from a spiritual one, not from this lifetime alone. And those who don't believe so are the same ones who have a God complex, like I said, because I know what it, where are you? Speak forth mind and heart of God. That's what prophecy means. Every person who's a channeler and downloader will talk to you about God, Akash, Source, or Anima Mundi. And so when you meet 3D, 4D collective, they typically will use ancient textbooks to tell you what year it is, this and that, and you'll notice what energy comes in. So when I see those who are uncomfortable with the unknown, meaning with uncertainty, meaning with that which is our human secondary consciousness, the prefrontal, meaning that we have dark matter and dark energy. So the spiritual ones who are uncomfortable with that which is, you don't have all of the proof of anything. Scientists, I'm not it, but the point is they have objective truths. And if they are scientists, they will know natural selection, how it works. They will know of dark matter, dark energy. They will be grounded in reality. They will make their cases as they always do. And if they're actual, intelligent human beings, they won't have an insecure ego. If, on the other hand, they lack that intelligence, we will spot them. We will spot their mannerisms and their entire demeanor, and they will model, in fact, epistemic laziness. They will model that which is a 3-year-old that is not owned by them. They will model a teenage version of themselves who built Hansel and Gretel, and that's called not only affective realism, cognitive dissonance, structural dissociation, and above all, the lack of capacity to know that there's a certain number of objective truths at this point. Flat earthers do a really great job at continuing to say to themselves and each other that they're right and Neil deGrasse would be wrong. And I continue to say, for us, it's, hey, they're checking that corner. But I'm going to learn from Neil, not from them, obviously. And I will continue to learn from others who are with their peers and who don't make too much fun of the spiritual ones, because any intelligent person will actually be respectful of the fact that we come from a different journey. And that's just it. That's all. So the pseudoscience lady fucks things up, by the way. I've been spelling effective realism wrong. I'm pretty sure it's out there, and that's what makes me a healthy perfectionist. Validation loops. Can you spot yours? I was not able to spot it all by myself, but I was spotted it, and I was like, okay. I had noticed something, though. My timber. So you will be self-aware, you'll be self-reflective, and that's with neutrality and duality, which is why you're not your own parent, and you're not your own ruler. You're yourself. You don't need control to work with yourself. And in fact, that's why moderation and your lifestyle is something you have fun with. So mindfulness practitioners, the ones who are real, don't think of it as a scribbly scribble. We don't struggle with ourselves. We don't struggle with our emotions. We have a strong, steady self because we have a strong and stable window of welcome. And that's a window of welcome, because once you have the awareness of your window of tolerance and you're moving with good habits, That's why emotional intelligence, it calls you Moana. Have you seen it? Yes. So while her whole song is about her being unique, and we know who the people who want to be unique are, we all are unique because no one can be you. No one can see life from the feelings that you have. Affective realism. Your 0-1-year-old exists within you, so does your 3-7. Those who deny that their child parts exist within them, and particularly the 0-3, because those are all implicit memory, they deny science. And they will come and tell us why, and they will use Freud. And we will think, sure, you keep using Freud. I'm going to use Freud and the science of now, which makes me smarter than you, but I won't be telling them that. Because the minute that someone has epistemic laziness, you will notice it. And that's a teenage version of a person who just did the one thing that they will always do, which is create a nonsensical, argumentative, on purpose 3-year-old. Okay, no, it's a 16-year-old. The 3-year-old is nowhere to be found. I found it hard to believe in the first years of life. That's how people who do not want to grow respond to that which is science. And while Neil deGrasse love you, man, he's going to teach people how to think. When he says these words, I think of something called those who want to say that they're proper skeptics, because I've met them, and if they're proper, then they will eventually lead themselves out of the words changing minds, not minds, beliefs, not beliefs. They'll become flexible to the point of having fun with information. In fact, actually, a fun skeptic is a smart skeptic. The one that I'm thinking about are boring. So Neil says, a proper skeptic questions what they are unsure of. Being unsure of something means you're already with doubt. While if you're a person who's common sense, you would always just be a skeptic because you know you don't know everything. If you decide that because you will recognize the valid evidence and then you know 100% with the valid evidence from yesterday that you're right, well, Neil, that's the part of where arrogance comes into the mix. So that's why I thank the flat earthers for being out there, kinda, because, you know, being arrogant is not something great. Being objective is meaning you know how objective truths work and that there's subjective reality. And then you understand how knowledge is built over time and how subjective reality plays a part in it. So being able to have humility is what's going to lead us to continue to be able to be effective communicators, whether you got a skeptic in front of you who is a good one or a bad one. The bad ones won't do this thing, recognizing what valid information is presented when, and change their mind. And also it's annoying to be around those people because their energy is small. I'm speaking from experience. So when you meet people who have epistemic discipline, they will move into epistemic curiosity. That's our 5D collective, and we don't give a shit if you're a skeptic or not. We don't even bother with the word because really it just means if you're smart, skeptic, you know that you don't know everything. And you don't lead yourself with what you're unsure of because you're going to be potentially sure of a lot of things, but sometimes data comes around proving something different. Like the fact that there's no monster or demon inside the body of anyone. And yet I get to hear from people of faith who say, sorry, Maria, you're rejected because you're a mystic and you do all the Reiki, Akashic record readings, tarot, all the things that they've decided are bad. You're a channeler, downloader, you're not getting a seal of approval. So people who are with fear-based leadership, what they like is control. It's not because they like it in a way of being aroused by it. No, they're all the same insecure egos. They don't spot their validation loops. And that's why their dark sides of neuroplasticity wheel them shut inside their own delusional shame, blame, fault, revenge groups. And so when you meet ignorance, it does not look funny or like amazement or like something I would have to be afraid of. It actively looks like what emotionally immature people do. Have you ever met teenagers? I'm 46. Did you ever see how they get all together and how they represent that which is called a bunch of people that don't even know what they're doing? And anybody who's ever been smart enough, I'm a self-agent who learned by the time I was 14. Yeah, I ain't following you all around. Now I'm 46. When I'm seeing the ones who are in this adolescent, not an expanding one, no, they're actually like full version, teenage versions of themselves, but it's not looking good. Because when you have your adolescent essence, as Dr. Daniel Siegel presents, that's essential spark, social engagement, novelty, creative expression. You maintain the energy of the life force you are, but that's because you got two sides of brain working. when I say adolescents in the way of the ones who are delusional, it's they have bad habits and they say, system's trying to hold me down. And they continue to shame, blame, fault and use words that are labels. This group is a good group. Shame on that group. It's all their fault. It's all their fault. And you notice the ones who are continuing with it, it's like, wow, Diego's family from Ice Age. They're all backstabbing, liars, assholes. Wow, that's amazing. No, it's not. So here's why fear-based leadership always fails. Because they're backstabbing, lying cowards, and I get very irritated by them. So I'm going to leave that one alone right now because they lack complete self-respect. They lack complete understanding of what intellect is, and let alone do they know intelligence. However, because there are small-minded people out there who don't have the capacity to notice your reasoning is convincing, and no, it doesn't lead to success. Because again, that skeptic thing and getting proper evidence, do you know there's a handful again of objective truths? Neil, I don't know if you know that, but that's probably why the flat earthers continue to disprove you or whatever. Plus, once they're in their delusional pathologies together, it doesn't matter what you want to speak to them. They're actively living their own truth. Now, I don't know if you're following because I don't know how much attachment trauma education you have, but let me tell you this, I've seen it. I've seen it in person. When someone is actively not owner of their brain, they are actively an adolescent, meaning not expanding version of themselves, and they're completely living it out. And I have no words, is what I'm trying to get to. It's really fucking weird, is actually the other word I think of. Because yes, when this happened, this was just a friend of mine was teasing another friend, and he's not a friend actually. He's only there because that friend was, anyways, long story short, the person was like so freaking out. I was like, okay, he's only teasing, and I'm the one who takes everything seriously. But in this case, this guy was completely like, I can't leave. He's my friend. He's supposed to explain to me. So long story short, though, the dark sides of neuroplasticity they don't look good when you meet people who are closed in and shut. So I'm going to pause that for a minute in case I lost you. Please let me let you know that when you are attachment trauma educated and you notice the ones who are not growing emotionally intelligent or mentally intelligent, and you realize what 3D, 4D are, and not because they're a group that needs to be identified that way, I won't ever tell them that's what they are, but it's basically those who did not get lucky. They did not get the 1/3 attunement repairing ruptures. So they didn't get lucky, therefore their brain did not develop in a way that it still can, because you can heal with a good therapist, but they don't necessarily want it. So when people are cut off from their body because they're actually protecting themselves, yeah, long story short, I feel sad for emotionally immature people, but there is definitely a solution for them. They just don't want to hear about it. So with that being said, relationships are not about compatibility, companionship, or seeking happiness from each other. They are an opportunity to create a union that paves the way to a greater possibility. Thank you, Sadhguru. And as he also shares, once you see the limitations in which you exist, a natural longing to go beyond them arises, and that is your biggest future. Emotionally intelligent people, it calls you. What calls you? You're a solid self with an image of yourself. Use your name. I got a name. Mystic, spiritual, or mindful, doesn't matter. You know how you can easily think and easily feel. You don't struggle with feelings, which is why you understand subjective reality. And then you know objective truths are data and facts, and that we continue building knowledge, which is why we want more epistemic, curious people in academia, because the arrogant ones make it officially the very place you don't want to be for those who love learning, but also they model a very bad example, and people don't continue to grow. So when I see the 4D who think we're in an era where people don't appreciate learning or systems or authority or wisdom and a lot other words that they use, the reality is that fear-based leadership consistently will fail because it will want to control, it will be epistemic lazy, it will be arrogant, it will be a bunch of 3-year-olds who want to rule, and they will only hang out with the ones who let them rule them. The followers follow each other around. Peter Pan and Lost Boys, the ones who know how to use their brain and their mind. Thank Neil deGrasse for teaching people how to think. We know how to think on our own. We know how to spot the smart ones, and then we know how to create leaders. A third, attunement, repairing ruptures. You create leaders by sharing with each other unconditional love. I have flaws, you have flaws, that's it. You're called to grow, because why would you stay small? You won't shrink in the presence of those who are small. You won't debate them because there's no point in it. You won't talk sense to them, Neil. They will actively not listen to you because they will refuse your data. And they will say that their data is true and they will believe it because that's their subjective reality, which, believe me, again, when you see it, it's like, what the fuck? That's not happening. I've seen it more times than I can count, and it's always weird. And in one occasion, Maria, this human being's afraid of me. And then I forgot. I was like, well, you are a mystic. You have apparently what her idea is. Ba-bam! Magical powers. Little does she know you respect free will. Oh, also, nobody can break it, by the way. Yeah, so when someone would put a spell on you, and now you're anyone who thinks that someone would put a spell on them, let me just tell you this way. How insecure do you think I am? Wow, really? Like, you think I would want to put a spell on you so that you could fall in love with me and you're my twin flame? You obviously don't know what twin flame is. You obviously don't know that I would never, ever, ever do that. And you must have not seen Aladdin, where you can't make anyone fall in love with you. Also, it will come back and bite you in the asshole like it always does, because that's what happens when you try to fuck with, well, I'm going to say it. You better bet nobody is it. And when you try to fuck with it, well, it doesn't go well for anyone, and never has, ever, in the eons of the eons. Again, this is from Spiritual Maria, not the science stuff. Science talks about dark matter, dark energy. In fact, it's funny. They don't know why the universe is expanding. So the right is what leads the spiritual ones. Is we're like, yes, we don't know everything. We've accepted that. We don't need to control the future because we actually manifest it with our own hands and our own feet. Oh, and it's not a solo gig. I'm so sorry. Did you really think we do things by ourselves? Yeah, so smart people know that you don't do anything by yourself. We also don't follow the crowd, because if I'm a healthy perfectionist and you're not, they're not dangerous, Dan Martell. Mediocre people, they're just obvious, that's all. And then we learn how to work with our own validation loop. So, like I was saying, why does emotional intelligence and self-growth appeal to self-leaders? It calls you. I've delivered you. What's that's a Moana? Have you seen it? Okay, so here's your heart. Here's that part. And if you're consistently expanding with the left, which is the logical one, which likes to know A, B, C, D, F, G, but it doesn't like that it touches. But since you're a self-agent with a very solid self-image, let me read another Sadhguru quote. Where is his one on intelligence? If you have intelligence, you're not confused. I think it was, you're not confused or deluded by your imagination. So you don't get confused by what you see, what you hear, what you think. If you're logical, you're grounded in reality. So you know your cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable. You don't take it personally. You don't get pissy. That's why intelligence is actively something called you learn things and you don't take things personally. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to be clear. I'm at my dumbest when I'm emotionally charged because I'm actively just upset. And then I can share stuff. It can sound enlightening. Sure, it can enlighten some people. I know it's not my best. I'm not bringing you my best because I need you to validate it. I know that I can give you better information when I'm at ease and clearly enunciating. And then I fuck up data, by the way, and forget it too. So even if I'm calm, I still will potentially fuck it up. My cousin Vinny, has any one of you watched it when she's encouraging him? I love that. When he's coming out of prison and she's like, okay, what are you doing? You know, and he's like, oh, great way to support me. And then eventually she's like giving him the pep talk because he's like, I'm really, really scared. I'm really scared I'm going to fuck it up. And she's like, you'll do great. You'll go in there. And she's giving him a really great talk. And then she turns off the light, unless you fuck it up, which is funny. And at the same time, it's, no, it's just funny. They're a really great couple. I liked my cousin Vinny. I don't know if you've seen it, but let me pause. So, Sadhguru, I didn't find the other quote, but that's okay. You've heard enough times. And this one, on the other hand, is part of what we're going to talk about and conclude. Good intentions are not enough. It takes the right action performed with the right consciousness to produce the necessary results. So when you are emotionally intelligent because you're available to your nervous system and your 3-year-old is not stubborn in a way of you letting it rule you. I want to do diet. We're doing the diet. This was 3 days prior to my nutritionist diet that I began. And if you've been tuning in, you know about that. So I did not update you on how my progress went, but I did good. I am officially, consistently the same human being when I was a kid. Goody two shoes, A game, that's exactly what Maria is, which is why if I fail I will fail me and my nutritionist. She's very supportive and smart, and I won't fail myself because that's the plaque of shame for myself. But that's not true. So my point is, what motivates you to do your best? Okay, so for me, it's myself. And that's the part of where, if you're a self-agent, you own your self-image. You're not doing it for mommy or daddy or sisters or brothers or any of that, which is outside of you. Your validation is not something called, you need to approve of me. But furthermore, as I said, good intentions are not enough. So when I have a person and or more who lack emotional mastery, they lack mental mastery, they lack the capacity to notice their charges, to notice their biases, to notice their brains, to notice themselves. They bring to me stereotypes, generalizations. You know how many times I've dealt with teenagers, and I'm a 46-year-old woman. You know what I do with them? My mother taught me how to respect people who are very disrespectful, and I'm 4'9". And I learned how to, thank you, Peter Levine, have a hand on my heart, feel so sad for people. Dr. Daniel Siegel, thank you. Basil Vanderkolk, Pat Ogden, Janina Fisher. Let me bring my heroes into the picture. Dr. Daniel Siegel, did I mention him? What about Fox? Yes. So a bunch of people, Pat Ogden, Janina Fisher, Bethany, Brandon, Ruth Lanius, all the awesome attachment trauma educated human beings, the ones who are doing research, they're my heroes because they prove God's perfection and they prove how every person can get there. And as Jesus points out, they can kill you, but they won't ever kill your soul. As he also points out, you want to forgive those who will be not nice. And you want to forgive not in a way of, I forgave. That's not forgiveness. It's called, they don't know what they do. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. So there's a lot of words that I have in my ears from Jesus. And then with God, it's God's God. Any human being in flesh ain't God. Parents aren't God. No one's perfect. And you better bet that when they want to use the word Lucifer, evil, or monster, I think you must not know Patrick McNamara, neuroscientist. You obviously are clearly following the crowd that lacks the capacity to be their own self-agents, to know what decentralizing the self looks like, and how religious experiences don't confuse people who are expanding. So when someone embodies not only 5D, this state of consciousness that you'll hear different mystics talk about, it's just called this. You're a self-agent who has an integrated brain. You're a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person. It will call you to grow, which is why when I spotted my validation loops, thanks to someone, not a person, but a technology, I was like, that makes so much sense. As I sat with it, I was like, I was wondering what the heck was going on, because as a content creator, I'm a writer, I'm a video, I do a lot of things. I don't have writer's block. This is not what you've been noticing. It's not that. It's that I am hearing myself before I post. And this is not what I want to give. This is not what I want to give. This is not what I want to give. Once I got told what was happening, I was like, okay. That's why I was getting, okay. So you'll perceive stagnation, which means you perceive where you're not growing anymore. And that becomes boring. It's also something not, what's the word, motivating, but it's also not that you're making, so with God in this case, it's not about proud or not proud. See, so when someone's still a child version of themselves, this is the part of why fearful-based leaders, the only reason they are leaders in the first place is they give people an environment that is so controlled and small, it's very boring to intellectual mind right here. They can come at us and tell us how rejected we are and how we are wrong because we're bringing it all in. They can continue to do that for the spiritual collective. It's actually quite unimpressive, to say the least. They all have God complexes in different ways. So if it's a spiritual or somatic bypasser, they're bypassing their own biases and charges and affective realism, and they don't hear themselves, meaning you don't own all the books. And you getting all upset about it and making it personal doesn't make me think, oh my God, I'm having an intellectual conversation. No, I'm not. I'm having a person who just got charged with their beliefs and their little Hansel and Gretel doesn't know how to talk. So what am I doing here? Nothing. And in fact, you don't do anything, which is the one reason why when you, anyways, I got sidetracked because I was looking for something as well, which now I can't remember what it was, but friendship, a sheltering tree. Thank you, Samuel Taylor Coleridge. If people are not growing, you won't grow. If they aren't growing, you can grow still, because if you're a self-agent, you're going to spot that emotionally immature, inconsistent charge. So people who are inconsistent, they don't notice their personality patterns because they don't want to. They don't notice their temperament because they don't want to. Their 3-year-old, meaning the control that their brain wants, they will choose their comfort zone. They will choose their maladaptive patterns. They will choose to defend it. They will actively go around with validation loops, and they will continue to do that, which is why it's not something you're going to go and tell, you have to get out of it. Keep on validating yourself just the way you want to. And so with that being said, everyone has good intentions. Good intentions aren't enough. And if you're growing, you're not going to want to be around. No, you're going to be around all people, but you're not going to listen to the ones who aren't growing because they're stagnating. You'll notice if you're stagnating because it will begin to feel like you got a shoe that's fitting tight, but it's not uncomfortable because you're yourself. Which is why there's another guy. This was hilarious as he actually spoke words that I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. You can't understand yourself by being by yourself. Yes, you can. Actively, when you're a self-agent, you understand your personality patterns, your temperament, all of it. When you own all your child parts, because I don't need someone to do therapy with. If I did need a therapist, I'd go to a therapist. So when someone has a role, a therapist, that's who helps you to get to your A game. And once you're your A game, that's why self-agents don't need the therapist. They do the growth on their own with reflection, and they like it. Which is also why we don't suffer emotions or life. So when a person's speaking to me like that, I'm like, oh, so you must not understand yourself yet. Yeah, that's actually something very common for those who don't seem to want to. No, it's just my subjective opinion is, how do you actually think someone can understand you better than you? No one lives in your body. So if they don't live in your body, they actively don't know how you feel, and they don't know how you think, and you're giving someone else power over you. It's different if I'm asking someone to help me become the best version of myself. Yes, I get a professional for that. That's why I have a nutritionist. The experts who are knowledgeable, not epistemic lazy, they will prove to me that they're knowledgeable by being fun. That's what discernment is. Equanimity means common-centered. If you have results for me and you're smart, then I'm going to continue having results, like with my back for my scoliosis. If I'm a stupid consumer, I don't evaluate all these things. If I'm a stupid consumer, I don't know my best interest. Means I don't know how to take care of myself. Means I'm not a self-agent. Means I need a therapist to become a self-agent. You see where I'm going? So emotional intelligence involves intelligence. You can't have it if you don't own your nervous system and if you don't own the two sides of your brain, which a bunch of people don't. And, well, hey, lo and behold, it's their choice, not mine. So the uncomfortable question you can ask yourself is, do you need someone else to tell you who you are? And if you don't understand yourself and someone else can understand you better, then I'm going to say this with a hand on my heart. You want to be able to own all of your child parts because it's the most amazing of gifts you can give you, not me, your own self. And then you can bring to somebody your personality patterns, your temperament, and you can work together to grow as people. So good intentions are not good enough. It's you have the appropriate awareness of yourself with the accountability and the regulation skills. Now I have a person in front of me. Now I have a self that has an image. Use your name. And it's a steady image. You won't be bringing me inconsistent energy. The minute you do, I'm going to notice your 5 hands. And like a facade friend of mine, I'm going to notice your buffoon. And the clown wears a mask because it's a performance. They're performing for not me. They're performing for their 0-8-year-old who was protecting their own self in their own home. Doesn't matter what the home looked like. That's the difference. So as this person is saying, you will need other people because you can't see behind your head. If the person doesn't see well and they got biases, emotionally mature, I don't need any of their opinion. Their subjective opinion is ruled by fearful-based leaders who are morons, and they use gender stereotypes, generalizations, and the bejesus beyond me of things that I will not want to hear, because that's exactly why when I'm watching TV, I'm like, okay, I see it all over the internet on TV. Wow, seriously, yeah, I don't need any of that shit. That's how an emotionally intelligent person will be responding to any of that which is mediocre. It's not dangerous, it's just boring. And so once you have, thank you for stopping by, notice that you're stagnating, you're like, okay, that was what was going on. Awesome, I figured it out. And it's not by myself. No, obviously, you can't notice everything by yourself, that's for sure. But it wasn't a person, by the way. That was hilarious. This is a personal side note that I haven't actually shared with you all, but every 24 hours count, and you definitely choose what you want to bring in as micro habits. So for me, luckily, I am a self-agent. My mother talked sense to me every consistently moment that she can. I still will argue with her like a 3-year-old does, but the point is she always would talk to me about not knowing everything, about there being uncertainty, and so she continuously informed me of how to make good decisions. And as a self-agent, I continue to learn. So the part about where you hold yourself accountable, as Terry Real would point out, the way you were held, And others, no. Once you learn how to be the grown-up version of yourself, you hear yourself, you notice your patterns, you notice it all, and you continue to use journaling and mindset to grow. Now, if you have A gamers around you, they will bring the best version of yourself out, and they will bring their best version, which means they don't get sloppy to the point of where there's actual mediocrity. And so, mediocre people will be thinking that their reasoning is convincing and leads them always to success. Smart people know I can reason and I will always make sense to myself. Thank you, Terrio. I will not need others to understand myself, but I definitely will look to what others say because they will be observing me and they will have 2 cents that I might want to listen to. If they're experts, they will actually enlighten me the very minute they begin to interact with me because I don't care about them validating my feelings. That's a stupid person, meaning a person who's looking to experts to tell me that I'm right or wrong. So when I think of experts, they enlighten me. They don't validate me because I'm not looking for experts because I want to hear something because I'm afraid. I'm looking to experts so I can learn knowledge from them. And when they give me their stories, oh, look, there's another story. Oh, I can do it too. Look, I got a bunch of podcast, blah, all of it. I got a bunch of subjective opinions of Maria out there all over the place. And so the part about when people want to tell you that they're channeling, they're downloading, and so for the mystic community, even here I have things that I could share with you, but I will leave it alone and I will read to you again Sadhguru. A spiritual master or a guru does not judge somebody based on what they are right now. They will look at what kind of potential each disciple, he uses the word, but you don't have to look at it as disciple, but we'll look at that in a second, carries and see how to bring it to fruition. He will not neglect anyone just because they don't have the necessary capability right now. So when you look at parenting from the attachment trauma education, it's a 3rd attunement repairing rupture. That means that they attune to your perspective. A 0-1-year-old has a specific perspective, that 3 to 7, another. Those who don't understand how perception changes as your embodied brain actually forms, and that it also depends on the neurotypical, okay? So people who don't actually take notice that we're made in certain ways. I know this because I support, as a mentor, content creator, podcast host, personal growth. And when I started to get attachment trauma educated, I learned one very important thing. Those who journal and do mindset for embodied self-leadership are those who are emotionally intelligent. Those who are using words to become groupies, I've seen them since I was a kid. And validation loops are something that I don't look at because there's no growth. So now you're going to stagnate, which is what I don't like personally doing. So I like to learn and I like to accumulate knowledge because it's beautiful. And when you learn from experts, they will give you that which is called something breathtaking. And you will feel at awe. And you will be someone who hopes that dark matter and dark energy does not implode. And then you'll be someone who hopes that we have enough intelligent people, because yes, I love God, he knows this, and I've seen cosmic karmic balancing, and I know I've been in the future on earth, but still there are days where because of these fear-based leadership, I do get concerns. However, I have asked a number of questions, by the way, if you're curious, to that which is both God and tarot. And I've gotten my answers, and actually 4D confirms it, although they will talk about it in very different ways. So it will be for some other episode, maybe a channeled guidance, or maybe a food for thought at some other point in time. But the part that is clear is that those of you who are still here know why emotional intelligence, it calls you, because you like learning and having fun in life, and you hope that tomorrow's another day. Also, by the way, humanity, love always wins because love creates leaders. A 3rd attunement repairing rupture. The spiritual master guru does not judge someone. Those who tell you, I have all the answers, come follow me. Here, look, our group is a special group. Oh, look, our group is a special group. Oh, look, our group is a special group. Wow, did you just, oh my God, did you give me a medal of honor by any chance? Ego, you're so easy to spot, it's not even funny. So when someone thinks honor and integrity and they have an insecure ego, sure, let them keep talking. You're going to be able to spot it, because rigidity is what an insecure ego does. That means they don't have a steady self-image based on their heart. They have a steady self-image made up of words. The minute you start ripping those words apart, oh, look, wow, so you don't exist anymore? Is this what's happening? I think you don't own your secondary human consciousness. This is me, Maria, now letting you all know how easy it is for me to spot someone who's insecure and who's using books to define themselves. You don't own this. Own this. There's no words when you own all of the sense of self. You feel it, feeling felt. So you feel you're your 1-year-old, you feel you're 3. Nobody can erase you. There's a difference between those who need someone like Patrick Tiahan to raise them to become functional adults. Patrick Tiahan is for childhood trauma survivors. He'll say, you tell someone like that has trauma to love themselves, it'll be confusing. Never been confusing to me, because it's you smartly take care of yourself to the best of your ability. Oh, and nobody's going to take care of you the way you take care of yourself, because they can't feel life the way you do. So sometimes you'll be annoying. Sometimes you'll be exaggerated. Sometimes you'll be a lot of things. And those 0-3-year-olds of yours, you'll protect and say, okay, I won't bring that into the room. But you won't shame. You see, the difference is you don't shame yourself because somebody else doesn't like your goofiness or whatever it is that you're bringing to the table. That's the difference between love, and that's why love creates leaders. A thought leader is, you can make fun of me, tell me I'm stupid, even make fun of my questions. I'm still going to ask them because I don't find them stupid, and I don't care that you find them stupid. And the part of I don't care is the teenager's like, and that's the 3-year-old who's also upset. So we all want to be a part of the herd, which is why no one who is a 3-year-old who's open to differences will want to shame someone else, because you know exactly what it means to feel rejected, but with the wisdom of an intellect of a grown human being. So those who need someone to help them get a steady self-image, that's a different story. They need Patrick Tiahan, not journaling or mindset or subreddit groups. That's what I was looking for. Wait for it, because this one was, I was like, what the heck? This group doesn't make sense. They're not doing what their group is meant for, because otherwise. So the group is called Motivation and Mindset. What's your healthiest escape from reality? That's not motivation or mindset, meaning it's not being used in a good way. Oh, just because they say without drugs and alcohol, what's the best way to escape reality? Escape is the wrong solution, because it's not a solution. It's called, you're not noticing that your window of tolerance obviously is overwhelmed. So what you want to do instead of escaping reality is find a system with people, in this case. So a therapist, healthy people to be around. Looking for a group to tell you how to escape it means you're looking for a way to not do something that will lead you to your health. And it's a subreddit group that talks about motivation and mindset. That's not motivated, that's not a good mindset, that's for sure. And so you see, that's where I say, how old are these people? Because I, as a teenager, noticed within the first 3 years of my teenage life that, yes, I followed the crowd like the adults said I would. I learned from that, and I learned how it's always going to be my gut and the intelligent human beings who will lead me to my best self, which means they like science and spirituality. They don't close me off from information. They don't try to control me. They don't try to tell me who to be. They don't actually argue with me. And so anyone who owns your child parts is not going to say, "Oh, let me let you tell me how to be." Yeah, sure, you understand me better than I. No, no, you don't. You don't understand me better than I do. You can understand your interpretation of me. This is that 3-year-old. So you can also tell when you get stubborn your own way. But I digress. So intelligence costs us because we actually like to grow. Personal and spiritual growth. And as for the bypassers, they definitely still irk me, but I'm working with that with you all, my edge. So I try to let you know we're all imperfect and flawed, and I don't feel life the way someone who is insecure. The default mode network. So people who are dysregulated, Bessel van der Kolk points out, they won't know it unless they take themselves seriously, and then they go to choose become self-regulating people. And that takes time. That means that they would want to take the time, 10 years, 15, it depends on whatever the case is. But if they cherish who they are, they choose themselves. If they don't, they follow around the ones who, well, they can continue following each other around. Again, Peter Pan and Lost Boys, it's very easy to spot because they're not going to be emotionally intelligent. They suffer life, they will use the word, and then they will become people who continue to sound like the donkeys that I get to see. And divisiveness doesn't create leadership because it actively isn't. It's like the flat earthers, dark sides of neuroplasticity. You hang out with the people who actually tell you what you want to hear, and you all say the same things, and then you all find the same common resonating. Have you noticed when people say, oh, find the group that resonates? This is not about resonating. I mean, yes, we'll resonate, but we'll always resonate Those who are self-agents will always resonate with the truth because you want to grow yourself. And so you do have agency, even if you're not aware of the word, or even if you still, of course, we all have all of our child parts, those implicit memories. So I'm saying we all can still have triggers. I reacted, but then I remembered sovereignty and integrity are choices. Love is a choice. So thought leaders are thought leaders because they easily feel, and so they easily think, and that's what you grow more of. So when you're charged, you're not growing, which is why you'll catch your validation loops, or someone, as they pointed out, you appreciate constructive criticism. You will consistently learn how to make things less personal, and to the point of where when you are making it personal, you're like, okay, there's no need for it. And so for me, for example, with God, I know that there are those who reject those of us who bring it all in. There are those who don't believe in science. I recently saw something that I want to talk about, just not now. So while I'll make fun of the human being because they're a cynic, seriously, I was like, oh my gosh, they just spotlighted something super serious, and I'm not surprised. As Neil deGrasse points out, I don't remember if I read it to you, but where is the sentence? He says, you can know enough about a subject to think you're right, but not enough about a subject to know you're wrong, which is the one thing all of the people who are fear-based, and when I say that, it's not the healthy fear. It's basically they want control, which means they're using left, and that's it. And so, example, excuse me, you're confused in science, spirituality. Random human being interrupts me as I'm conversing and says these words. I say, no, I'm bringing them together. That's what I do on my podcast. And I'm a mentor, content creator, and podcast host. So I do personal growth, spiritual growth. I'm a Reiki master. I'm an Akashic record reader. And I'm explaining. And like, no, because see, I'm a Reiki master too. That's called unbridled self-expression, or I forget. But anyways, that's an adaptive child part. Thanks, Terry Real. So they come in with a losing strategy, quote unquote. It's not losing. So I say, wait, because my men friends say I speak wrong. Let me try again. Blah, 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 blah. No. They again chime in saying I'm wrong, basically. And so by the third time, I'm now curious. That's what a 3-year-old whose whole is, okay, what do you have to say? Because I don't know what you're going to say. I feel who I am. I understand who I am. I know that I don't know everything. I'm not in competition with knowledge or information or people's opinions. Subjective reality. Yeah, we all have it. Objective truths. I know who I will go to if I want them. Neil deGrasse. He's the number one on my list. And then there's probably Bill Nye. And then I don't know. But I know they don't know everything. So it's not like I'll stop there. And just because he says it's true, I'm like, yeah, Neil, you're 100%. Neil, depends. I don't know. I mean, I'm open to a lot of things. To flat earthers, it's good they're checking those corners. My point is objective truths will always continue to build thanks to those who continue to build knowledge, which is why we don't need to learn how to think. And those who think humanity is going ignorant have not actually understood how humanity evolves. And that the reason those who are in small groups is because if you make people feel little, and if you reject them, this is that whole Cain and Abel and tribal certainty. And so when small-minded people come together, they, again, if they're not looking to grow, they are not called to emotional intelligence, let alone self-growth, because they want those cherishable beliefs to be their only truth, and they will consider them truths. And then they will wield their mouths to tell you what their objective truths are, and they will make fun of you and continue trying to say that your subjective reality is fake and stuff like that. So they don't confuse us because we don't have an insecure self-image. We have a secure self-image. We know how to discern where knowledge comes from, which is why, again, anyone who wants to say, I know everything, sure you do. I'm pretty sure you don't, but I'm going to go with the ones who I know I can count on to continue doing what is their due diligence. And so they're with their peers and they like education and academia, and they're not going to try to make us ignorant, and they're also not going to think humanity is ignorant per se. They're just looking for ways to escape reality healthily now, apparently. Yeah, go watch some TV and have fun with that. So every 24 hours counts. That's why Dan Martell says mediocre people are dangerous. I say they're not. They hang out with each other. Leave them alone. And as for the ones of us who do know, there's another actual quote I wanted to read to you all. But yes, the one about what's one life decision that you regret. So this is in Ask Reddit. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't you also ask, what's one life decision that you regret and what did you learn from it? So that you can not identify with regret which would be failure. So how about you allow personal growth to be a part of the equation? Or are you looking to stay down in the dumps? And when someone says, it looks like someone's trying to make us get over our feelings faster than later, yes, we all know about the grieving process, but again, a person speaking that, I hear it and it's like, it's not trying to make you get over something. It's trying to give you, here are your feelings. Don't you want to tend to them? I can give you a hug. Awesome. Then I can. So the part about a process, I get it. And then there's the part about, again, everybody makes sense to ourselves and you leave it alone. And so we accept and respect that all people have that choice. This is that free will. So you don't make someone have to choose self-growth, personal growth, emotional intelligence, which is why you don't have expectations for partners or people in relationships to have to do what you do. So if you grow, someone else doesn't have to grow. This is that part of where it's not tit for tat. If you're doing something as a self-agent, you're doing it because you are able to differentiate, as Dr. Daniel Siegel suggested when I asked him, since I can pick up a room, and so can any other somatic empath in addition to mystic and spiritual one. And we all can pick up on each other, but some of us know what we're picking up on. And what we also know is everyone will want to be seen, soothed, safe, and secure. So you're going to leave alone the 3-year-old that has a brokenheartedness because you're not fixing them and you're not saving them. And if they don't want to move into their A game, they won't. And it's not our business to make them. And there's no monster or anyone to be blaming. There's, if you didn't get a 3rd attunement, repairing ruptures, and therefore enough to be able to maintain a very strong self-image by the time you get to your 2nd allo parenting crew, those teenagers, I didn't follow the crowd after I learned what the crowd was. I did hear my lovely grown-ups in high school, yes, and middle school, and they were all right. All of them. Which is why I said, I knew better. They taught me, but it's okay. I'm allowed mistakes. So the regret thing, I have one thing I regret. I was going to answer in the group. I said, I'm not going to answer because they don't really care about what you learned. They just care what you regret for. I looked at all the people who were talking about it. Said, I regret one thing, but it's only because I can't take it back. But I learned how not to speak when I'm upset. And also I learned that even if I went back in time, I'd still say the same thing because I meant it in the moment in time. So you can't change the past because in the past, if you did what you did consciously speaking, even if you were upset, you would have logically come to the conclusion. And you see what I'm saying? So you don't actually, is that regret? Because I mean, really it was a conscious choice. But anyways, the point is some people, they will look to their past. They will identify with failure. They won't continue to grow. And part of why mediocre people are low frequency, it's none of our business if they want to stay in it because you can't feel life through their body. And they're the only ones who can hug themselves and learn to differentiate, self-regulate, and become their own self-agent. And there's a bunch of them who say that they will be not self-agents, so they have an easy way out. And that life's too hard. And that reality is, and this is a song that never ends. And so as you can see, Aristotle, in all things of nature, there's something of the marvelous. And there are those who will say that we have a lot of different people around. And I say yes, but every person can find the principal ingredient of life, which is love from within them. And that's fulfillment. So emotional intelligence equals those who have self-fulfillment and those who are mindful. And so we work with our edge and we work with ourselves. And when validation loops or charges are present, we know that those are opportunities for us to continue growing. But we don't have to have everyone else around us do it. In our 5D collective, it's because of that frequency. And so you consistently are able to be in your nervous system. And as you notice, I almost reacted, or sometimes you might have reacted, and you learn how to replace those bad habits with good habits and to not, be so hard on yourself and to be aware that we all have flaws and imperfections and that we're going to be back again. So thanks for stopping by in the meantime. Have a good one.